Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Conversations with Sophia4Christ. I welcome you. The mission of this platform is to share content that enlightens and empowers you to go forth and fulfill your divine purpose and be your best in every area of your life. Welcome. So, we're continuing with our entrepreneurship and you series. Yay! And if the Lord has been prompting you to start a business and go out on your own and do something for yourself. This is the place to be. You want to stay tuned. Stay tuned to Conversations with Sophia for Christ. Stay tuned to the entire Sophia for Christ platform because we are going to be having experts coming in to discuss the various aspects of running a successful business for yourself. Okay, so for today's episode, we will discuss the following topic. We're going to talk about food safety compliance, getting it right the first time. Yes. So before we go any further, we're going to introduce our guest presenter for today's show, and it is the lovely Lady Tamieka Sewell-Phang. So I'm going to bring her up now. Welcome, welcome, lady. It's Tamieka. Welcome back after a
Thank
riveting boss
you.
lady
Thank
session.
you. My
All
pleasure. It has
right, so
been
now I'm going
a
to
pleasure the
introduce her.
first time, still a pleasure. Thank you.
Amen. All right, so I want to introduce this formidable. It's not just a woman of God, because you see, in the kingdom, are not just one thing. We don't just love Jesus, and we know the word of God, and we can, deal with the thing in the spiritual realm and prayer and warfare. Yeah, we're professionals as well. So I'm going to introduce this formidable lady to you. So, Lady Tamieka is a dynamic quality professional with a leading edge perspective on the 21st century marketplace, combined with a singular vision in realizing the marriage of quality management systems and best practices with sound business operations. Over career history spent at a clear vantage point on the ongoing revolution within the management system space, she has levied well earned expertise and insight in the following areas: food safety, hazard analysis, critical control point, HACCP, very official, implementing
Yes.
and interpreting ISO standards, system documentation, regulatory research, establishing prerequisite programs and training in management systems, as well as other industry specific training, wielding a comprehensive management system skill set with significant achievements in establishing ISO standards. Thought leadership, Lady Tamieka offers the expertise to inform sound corporate decision making and craft the strategic and tactical tools required to capitalize in this culture. With a robust academic foundation in applied science, in quality improvement, Bachelor of Science Management Systems, and other courses at such prestigious learning institutions as the Fox Valley Technical College in Wisconsin, Qualitas SA, Santo Domingo, and the University of the West Indies, Jamaica, Lady Tamieka embarked on a series of progressive tenures, culminating in an accomplished quality systems specialist position with Nestle Jamaica Limited. In 2015, she transitioned to working full time as principal consultant and CEO for TS Quality Consultants. Those benefiting from Lady Tamieka's fresh perspective and intuitive understanding of management systems and the importance of being certified for the 21st century will find her a visionary thinker with an entrepreneurial and team building acumen to devise and deliver management solutions that are of international standards and, most important, financially viable. Future and current business executives and leaders will also benefit from her augmented technical skills reinforced by various certifications and her impassioned commitments to win. And so, when you bring her on your team, you will win as well. Lady Tamieka is also happily married to Sir Andre Pang. We pray for God's continued blessings upon their union. Welcome, Lady Tamieka. Welcome. So this week we have a presentation by Lady Tamieka Sewell-Phang. However, please note that this presentation is for informational purposes only, strictly for informational purposes for your particular business and what you may need. Make sure that you contact Lady Tamieka Sewell-Phang after this presentation so that she can sort you out and set you up with all you need. But this actual presentation is just for informational purposes, and we'll just reserve any questions that may arise at the end, should there be any questions. Okay, so Lady Tamieka, over to you.
Thank you, Lady Sophia. It is a pleasure to be here once again. Always a pleasure. So, as Lady Sophia said, Tamieka Sewell-Phang and TS Quality Consultant. So, let me give you a little background on TS Quality Consultant. We are a consultancy business. So, what we do is offer implementation advice as it relates to certification to international standard and schemes. We also do training. We also do auditing. So, we're auditing of the internal system. We also do auditing of your suppliers, right? So when we're looking at the system as a whole, and one of the facets of the system is the people. And it's important for you when you're implementing a system that you have a culture in place to support that system. That's where we come in. So as Lady Sophia said, listen, we're here to help you win. All right. So two things I want to touch on today. We're going to look at compliance and good manufacturing practices, also known as prerequisite programs. As it relates to compliance, it is important when you have your business, your organization, regardless of the size, that you are complying with regulatory requirements and your own protocols. All right, also known as corporate compliance. So let's look at regulatory compliance. When you are exporting overseas, they're going to ask you for if you're meeting your requirements, right? So there are certain certificates and licenses that you will have to have in place. Going overseas, also, you need to make sure you know the regulations for the country. If you're going, and we're talking about prepared food now, and you're going to the USA, we have the FDA. Now there's something called FSMA, Food Safety Modernization Act. A
Sorry, what's that
subcomponent
called?
is
Phase
FSMA.
one? Okay.
FSMA,
Never heard of
Food
that one.
Safety Modernization Act. Welcome to food.
Okay.
So we're talking about you exporting to the US, right? So there's a
Right.
component that is 21 CFR and Code of Federal Regulation 117 that speaks to current good manufacturing practices, right? It also covers hazard analysis, risk-based preventive control. So there are components to it if you are exporting to the US that you must comply with. So there's another level. So the first level is the Jamaican. The second level would be whichever country that you're exporting to. Canada have safe food for Canadians. All right. You go to the UK, the UK have their own legislations also. So it is important for you to do the research. Too many times you have companies exporting and the only place the container reach is the port and don't go anywhere else because it has to be
Wow.
destroyed because you have not done your research. That is called waste. Where would you want to do that? Right? That's money that could have been levied somewhere else within your organization, right? In order for you to set your foundation. So that's one aspect. The second aspect we're talking about is your own corporate information compliant to your own internal protocol. You have to say what you do and do what you say. We don't need four different cultures running in the organization. The one, which is the established one, which is on paper, right? Then when you go and speak to the employees and you check records, you realize that, but it doesn't align. So what is done in practice does not align with what is written, and then that
Wow.
becomes an issue, right? So we want to avoid that. Just as though how we know that you're a Jamaican citizen is because of your birth certificate, nothing else.
Right.
If you don't have a birth certificate, we're not sure who you belong to. Yes, we're not sure where you
Indeed.
should go. You have no allegiance or alliance to anywhere. Nobody can claim you because they got no right, right? Because you can't
Okay.
demonstrate to where you are from, right? So that is important. That's why they insist that every child has a what? Birth certificate. When it comes to the organization, it's the same thing with the records as it relates to your production. It works where it relates to your good manufacturing practices or your prerequisite program. This is what stands up for you. Nobody's going to go back 3 weeks later and say, "Oh, Tom, you remember which temperature the food had reached? You sure?" No, no one is going to
Wow.
do that. And if you have a
Wow.
customer complaint, which sometimes leads to a lawsuit, no judge wants to you to parade 50 persons down and trying to remember who does what, right? The
Mm.
regulations also say you must have records. So therefore you need to produce those records. And those records need to be complete. So if you have a slot for the date and the date is missing, guess what happened to the record? People, it's incomplete. Yes, it is, right?
And that can
Whatever
affect
slot
certification if you have missing like gaps
affects,
in your records.
if you have missing gaps in your records, it can affect certification, yes, because then we'll go into whether it's going to be a minor nonconformity, a major nonconformity, depending how much you see, if it's going to be critical because there's non-adherence to the scheme.
Mm.
Again, we have to do our diligence, and we want to build a culture that is not eroded. We don't need someone to say, "Oh, I think it goes that way," or "I think it goes the other way." You must be sure. All right. So that is we're talking about compliance. A part of compliance is your brand. Your brand. Your brand is your image, and your brand convey what you're all about, right? Just like how you can call a KFC. Everyone knows KFC. Everybody
Exactly.
knows
And there
Burger
was
King.
expectation about KFC's products.
Wonderful. Here we
You have a
go,
taste
Lady
that
Sophia.
you're going for, that you're used to, because KFC doesn't taste like Popeyes. You understand? Very
Precisely. It's
distinct.
too different. And Coca-Cola will never taste like Pepsi, right?
I'm gonna
So
drink
you
none of them.
want to make, and no two water taste alike. All right? They may look alike, but they don't necessarily taste alike. And that is what makes you stand out is your brand. Non-compliance is expensive. You have eroded your brand and now you have to spend time to build it. You can spend 200 years, right? We're talking like a Nestle that's been around from generation to generation to generation.
Mm-hmm.
Coca-Cola is the same thing, over 100 odd years. You have to protect that brand. In one
Yes.
instance, you can damage that image. And what you have spent 3, 4, 5 years to build was eroded in one day. And it's hard sometimes to come back. And that is why we need to ensure that in protecting our brand, we are complying with the necessary regulation and legislations and also with our internal requirements. I just wanted to touch on that. It's a bit of a pet peeve of mine because person will say, "Oh, but they don't see the big deal." The big deal is that when you have a company and you have your name on the label, one of the things a part of the label standard and the requirements in Jamaica, you have to put product of origin. So a country of origin. So that's why it's a product of Jamaica, a product of China. You look on it, look on your packaging. It says a product of the Dominican Republic because it simply means that it was manufactured there, right? You may sometimes
Right.
see in the line you will have manufactured for because it's something that has been subcontracted and another organization is doing it for that particular company. There are many companies like that in Jamaica. I will not mention any at the moment, right? But there are a lot of them. Just look at your labels. So when you are actually branding and you have your logo or your name and you put product of Jamaica, you are also representing brand Jamaica. A lot of times people pick your product off the shelf, not because of the color, but
Oh.
oh, it's from Jamaica. Yes.
Mm.
Oh, my Jamaican friends say it tastes good. And when I go to the West Indian store or when I go to the Caribbean island, that particular supermarket, I need to look for this
Yes.
brand. right? They haven't tasted it, but someone said, listen, reference, go and look. And as a result, they pull your product. Not because they know you, but also because it's associated with Jamaica. So
So I
you're
noticed that
using
some of the
something. Go ahead.
products, Lady Tawika, some of the products, it says product of Jamaica, some of them would say made in Jamaica. Is there a difference in terms of who's
No.
allowed to say product of Jamaica or made in Jamaica?
Product of Jamaica, made in Jamaica, as long as they declare the country of origin.
Origin. Okay.
Right.
Mm.
Because what happened is that you will have product, and there was a particular incident. I don't think this is a forum to discuss it, but let me just
Okay.
give you an overview of it.
Yes.
And this particular
Confidential
country,
privacy.
yes, this particular country had a particular product, and it's well known in Jamaica also. That particular product also had on the Jamaican flag. When
Mm.
you went and you start to read up close, it was product of a different country. So if
Wow.
you didn't know, you would have been
Mm.
drawn to it because of our beautiful black, green, and gold, only to find out when you read it now that, oh, but it wasn't made in Jamaica. It's not a product of Jamaica. So it's so important that
But
information
they're
is
tapping into brand Jamaica.
they're tapping into brand Jamaica and doing it well. They're doing it
Mm.
very, very, very well. All right. So we need to understand, we need to stand out. There is an aspect which I'm going to touch a little bit about coming up when we're looking at good manufacturing practices is food fraud. Just like how you have fashion brands where you have a substitute that looks like it, get what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the same thing for food. Yes,
Okay.
and it's called food fraud for economic gain. So there are certain things you might just find a particular brand, and then when you look on it, but then it doesn't look like how it normally looks when I used to purchase it. When you call the company
Oh.
now, the company is not aware of that particular one that it took off the shelf or your aunt from wherever sent to you. They're like, but then
Oh.
yes, we don't export to that particular country. Then when the
Okay.
comparison is done and when the checks are done, when I'm talking about analytical checks now, you send it to the lab
Mm-hmm.
and we look at authenticity, you realize that, no, darling, we did not
To
make
figure
this
out
in
what's
Jamaica.
in it.
And
To
sometimes
figure
what
out
is
what made
in
it
it is
up.
right. And then what is in it is not fit for human consumption. Lady,
Oh.
Sophia, that is a different lesson. That is a different one we're going to discuss a different time. People will
Okay.
be shocked. It's pretty and it's probably expensive and look exotic, but it is not for human consumption.
Okay. Hmm.
So it is important also for just even for the consumers. If you're a consumer, read, be informed so you can make informed decision. Don't bother say, oh, but I couldn't bother read the label. Listen, you spend 3 hours watching TikTok, 4 hours doing something else. When you go in the supermarket, pay
Read.
attention to labeling and coding. All right. With that
What
said,
is
let
coding?
me try. So when we're
You
talking
see,
about
you have to
code,
try break up the jargon then.
so I was going to touch it when I was segueing into good manufacturing practices. So I'll cover it here. I'll cover it here. Coding, we're talking about your best before date, which is mandatory.
Okay.
Coding, we're talking about a manufacturing or batch code that tells you when the product was manufactured, right? For us as
Mhm.
consumers, it is important for us to look at the best before date or the expiry date of the product. The code
Okay.
on the label, the code on the product, right, will let you know, for instance, if you're going to call the manufacturer and you have an issue, you can quote it. They should be able to go back to their records to see if they have had any deviations that particular day and if this particular batch was implicated in
Oh.
that deviation.
Oh, that's how the record keeping, the detailed daily record
Ah,
keeping comes in.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that is how it comes in. So as a customer, I'm going to call, or as a consumer, I call and say I have a problem with a particular product. The manufacturer is going to ask me for certain dates. They're going to ask me, okay, could you let me know the code? right? And the code they're going to probably can be 2 or 1 line. Let me know the code that is on it. You will tell them the code. They will take the information. They'll ask you where did you purchase the product, how you're feeling. You give them all that information. Now they need to go and do their due diligence. And what happens is that they go back to check their records if there were any deviations, right? Deviations in your good manufacturing practices or your prerequisite program. Deviation as it relates to the monitoring associated with your hazard analysis critical control point plan, or what we call HACCP. All right. So that's how it lines up. And that's why it is important that we maintain, we retain records, right? And ensure that they're stored properly. It covers you. And also it is a regulatory requirement. All right.
Okay.
So we settle the coding. So just to
Mhm.
segue now into good manufacturing practices, also known as prerequisite programs, right? So for
Right.
good manufacturing practices, those are the things that we would do before we get to manufacturing. Okay, so do before you get to manufacturing, let me break it down for you.
Okay.
When you're going to cook, you don't just get up
Yes.
and throw everything in the pot and cook. No, you have to
Well, no,
determine,
no Jamaicans at least, I hope.
right? No, nowhere, no, nowhere. You get unknowingly, unknowingly, they are going to cover something. One, they want to make sure the pot clean, right? And they say, oh, maybe
Yeah.
wash up the pot. In industry, we call that sanitation program. So we're going to clean and we're going to sanitize. Two, you want to make sure that, listen, if I'm going to cook fish, the fish is readily available. You can't cook something that is not there, right? So
Mm.
now that comes to purchasing, right? So when you're talking about industry, we call that procurement or purchasing. And now we have to understand who we are purchasing from, not
Oh,
reliability only in terms of delivery, but reliability as it relates to food safety and quality. It may be cheap, but will kill you. It
mm.
may be expensive, but will kill you, right? So we have to
Okay.
know who we're buying from. And that now forms a part of our procurement program in industry. So we know who we're purchasing from, one. Two, we ask for something that is called a certificate of analysis. Simply mean that, listen, this is the product, this I've tested it. This is the microbiological results. These are the chemical results, and it's fit for consumption. Third, we may
Mm.
ask for what is called a letter of guarantee. What does a letter of guarantee do? It protects both parties. So this is what I'm saying, Lady Sophia, as a supplier to you, I am saying to you that whatever I'm selling to you, I am saying to you that it meets requirement and it is not going to pose a food safety hazard, and I'm standing behind it and I'm guaranteeing it 100% once
And
you
this
have followed the
applies to
requirement.
suppliers of everything food,
This
like
applies to
fruits,
suppliers
vegetable,
of food,
meats.
vegetable, and we're talking in the context now of manufacturing because you wouldn't do the
Mm.
same thing if you're going downtown. But when we're talking about
Right.
a manufacturing plant, there are just certain things that we need to make sure are in place.
Because we've seen
We
cases where persons complain, like farmers or so forth will complain that, probably so and so won't purchase from us, or, the stuff is spoiling. So I think some of the times
right.
they're not
So let's
aware
look at that.
of what they need to
Yes.
do so that they can gain those
Right.
contracts.
Yes. And excellent. I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to touch on something. Uh, One of the things, and I think is W. Edwards Deming that says it. It says that change is not necessary. In the same breath, survival is not mandatory. Change is not necessary.
So
Survival is not mandatory.
we say if you
So
want
this
that,
is what. So this is
well,
what
it is
we
from the
have.
perspective of the supply. Oh
So
my,
this is where we pivot
change and
also,
live.
right? Change and live. And with COVID, we all had to change. A lot of persons weren't used to working via social media, working from home, have to be using Zoom or whatever platform. And now they have to do it. Are you going to say that business is not going to continue because you can't go face to face? First World has been doing it for years. It's something that I've been doing it for years, right?
Yes, I do.
Managing meeting and managing contracts. I'm sure a lot of people have been doing it. But now everybody came full circle because of COVID-19. Everybody had to pivot. I'm sure I'm seeing grandmas on TikTok. Who would ever
Mhm.
think, right?
Wow.
So we have to change our perspective in order to tap into markets. And you are correct. A lot of large and other organizations, enterprises, will not purchase if you don't have the prerequisites in place. Why? You can impact their brand negatively.
Yes, yes.
And
And they're not
especially
going
if
to
they're
sacrifice their brand for you.
they're not going to sacrifice the brand for you. And
Mhm.
especially if they're internationally certified to a
Mm.
scheme like FSSC 22,000, which is Food Safety System Certification 22,000. They're certified to safe quality food, SQF. They have a ISO 22,000 certification. Simple mean that, listen, you have a outside body looking in, giving them a certificate to say that, listen, they comply with this scheme or this particular standard. And how do we know? We come in, we assess their system, we did an assessment, we did an audit of the system, they meet the scheme requirements, and through meeting those scheme requirements, we are issuing this certificate.
And
Now,
they have to do that every year. It's not like a
and
one and done,
for,
like you get it and it's like bye.
oh
I'm
no, that's not what
certified.
you are
Exactly.
certified and can lose it by the surveillance. So certain schemes
Yeah.
is 3 years. So the initial certification is the first year. The second year is what they call a surveillance audit to make sure that you're still complying with the requirements,
Okay.
right? The third year, also going into the fourth, you have what is called a recertification.
Mm.
Certain schemes like SQF, every year you got to recertify. So they're coming to check you.
Okay.
So well, let's look at the brands that are affected. The brand of the company, the brand associated with the certification body. That certification body has to answer to what is called an accreditation body. That accreditation body has
Oh,
to answer to the scheme
okay.
owner. So nobody is going to compromise their brand. So when they give you that certificate, they're saying you're upholding your part of the bargain. And once you're not,
Mm.
there is something called suspension and withdrawal. And by all means, you can find it when you go online and go into that particular scheme and you look at the status of the organization, whether they have maintained their certification. That is how serious it is. And it is money being
Okay.
invested. So we don't want that to be eroded because
Yes.
somebody decide that they are not going to keep us. We love you,
Mhm.
but there's something called compliance. All right?
Yes.
And it's not complicated. That's why, as Lady Sophia said, getting it right the first time. Non-compliance is expensive for your brand and your pocket. Very expensive because a regulator. So let's talk about the National Compliance and Regulatory Authority of Jamaica. These are the persons who go in, do the inspection. You have a certificate, right? So we're talking about processed food, and they go into different
Oh,
areas,
the food
right?
handler's permit, that's just one aspect of it.
Food and loss
That's
permit
just
is
like the
one
look,
aspect.
just a very
That
small,
is the
because some
Public
people
Health
just feel
Act of
that's
1998. And all it says
okay.
to you, along with some other requirements, is that if you desire to work in the food industry, you must not have a food handler's permit. Let's get it clear. It must be valid. People, if it expires, you don't have
Oh.
one. It says
Because
valid.
but
The
them expect you
language
to
is clear.
see the paper,
No, no,
Jamaica style, see
no,
the
no,
paper
no,
here.
no, 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 no single lady thing going on.
Oh Lord. But it's
No,
true. They would say they have the papers, but they're not looking at the expiration date. Mm.
and I love that you brought that up because you have so many organizations. What? I have my paper and I've done that. So one of the things about
Wow.
me, I'm a lead auditor for 9001 2015, which is a quality management system. I'm a certified audit, internationally certified auditor. Also, I've been a certified auditor for years. And you will go into organizations, even for food, certified for food, go into organizations and they're adamant, of course. I have my licenses and they're up and you're wonderful. So
Oh
show me.
God.
Showing me is the objective evidence now. And when you look on it, you're like, did you know that your license expired from last year, November?
Last
You're like,
year. Like a whole
and
year.
listen,
And the
listen,
fees to them have it.
listen,
Wow. Mhm.
listen. And they're like, no man, is every year. No, no man is every 3 years. I said, no. When you're talking about the Factories Act and that certificate, the issuance that certificate is valid for 3 years from issuance. That's different. When you're talking about the public health certificate, we're talking about the National Compliance and Regulatory Authority, the certificates that they list, they issue and stuff like that, coming from SIPD also. So we are talking about inspection of the facilities, right? From Ministry of Agriculture and others. It's valid for 1 year. So if you don't pay
Mhm.
attention, you will miss it. And that is why it is important when we say compliance that you do your due diligence. You can't just get around to it. You have to do it. So even that means you put it in your phone as a reminder that it comes due, or hire someone or assign it to somebody's portfolio to make sure
Yes.
that you are in compliance. Do that. Don't take it for granted that you do it once and done. If so be the case, we would not need regulators. We would not have something called recall in our system just in case something goes wrong. It's
Mhm.
not bam. It's not like,
No.
oh, is it that you were birthed and that was it? No, didn't you go through stages? And every stage
Yes.
requires something else? Right. So we
Exactly.
have to bear that in mind. So
I
going
think
back to
people
the
kind
good
of
money,
treat it
go
in a
ahead.
way like how, we have the, what they call it, the motor vehicle registration, insurance, those sort of things. And they say, you know what? I know it laps, but if a cop catch me, if the police catch me, I go and beg a blind. And you know how things can sometimes run in Jamaica, but they can't beg no blind for this one, for these
No
things. They have
blind.
to have
And
themselves
listen,
straight. Okay.
straight. And you, this adversarial relationship with the regulators is in your mind. If we
Mhm.
did not have those regulators, probably Sophia and I would have probably, if God was not on our side, die already. Do you know many places we go
Exactly.
and eat and go and buy things? We don't know where it's coming from.
Mhm.
Nobody goes to the supermarket and say, listen, I'm going to pick up that loaf of bread. I'm going to look at the manufacturer. I'm going to make a phone call. All right, so did you clean? All right, so what temperature did you bake the bread? The food contact
Yes.
surface, did you do a verification? How was the environment? Did you check the supply? We don't do that. I
No, we
eat
don't.
with my eyes closed. And the reason why I say we eat with our eyes closed, because really you're putting the trust in the regulators and also in those manufacturers that they are complying with requirements.
Mm.
Nobody's going to call and find out what are the ingredients and check your supply and go and audit them themselves. So that adversarial relationship, it exists in your mind. They are there to help you. So if you have that type of mindset, and everybody has that type of mindset, what will happen to the consumer? Don't be fooled. A manufacturer is also a consumer. You do not
Exactly.
manufacture every single thing that you consume. You don't, right? So we need that relationship. We need that relationship. So thank you,
Mm.
Lady Sophia, for that. So I'm just going to touch on two aspects. We did food fraud, we did coding, we did labeling. So what I want to look on is our sanitation program. And before I go to the sanitation program, good manufacturing practices. And you say to yourself, where can I find information? Codex. Jamaica does what is called guidelines from the Codex Alimentarius Commission, right? Go into Google and type Codex. Yes. So what they have is actually different practices. They have standards. These are voluntary.
Okay.
Nobody has to comply with them. They're not mandatory. But when it comes to the general hygiene for general practices for food hygiene, what happens? It lays out some basic foundation for good manufacturing practices. All right. You're going to the US. 21 CFR 117 subpart B covers current good manufacturing practices. If you're a part of a steam, if it's a C22000, it is mandatory that you use one of the ISO, International Organization for Standardization, TS technical specification 22002 hyphen. It can be one if you're manufacturing, they do have others. But if you're going to look on manufacturing, you need to take a look at those 15 prerequisite programs. All 15 may not apply to your organization. So for instance, if you are not using Steam, that simply means that if you're not using Steam, you don't need to apply. The non-applicable would have been that the Steam would have to be removed because they don't use Steam. Yes. So there are things that are there that will you have to tailor as it relates to, do I implement it? Does it fit with what I manufacture, my product that I am manufacturing? If it doesn't, you know that it's not applicable. However, a sound foundation is there. Speak to NCRA. Listen, follow them on Instagram.
Who is that? NC?
The National Compliance and Regulatory Authority of Jamaica, NCRA. Follow them. They're on Instagram. You want to know what is happening in agriculture? Follow RADA on Instagram, and they make it quite clear. RADA. Done on Instagram. You want to find out the new standards that are out? Follow the Bureau of Standards Jamaica. They're on Instagram. They send out when they have developed new standards, they send it out to you and say, so that you have a knowledge base. It is not okay in the 21st century for you not to know. You have to be in the know. Why I say that?
Ignorance
you
is not
have
bliss.
access to ignorance ain't bliss. Ignorance can cost people life, including yours. Right? So what we want to do is make sure that we are keeping track and we are on track. Right? Hashtag compliance all the way, all the time. All right?
Exactly.
So those are some areas. Ministry of Health, you know, as it relates to food handlers and the assessment of the manufacturing environment, we are looking at public health, right? You have one in Spanish Town, St. Diego, you have one. You have, I think, one in Linstead. Every parish have at a minimum one. Go and speak to them. They're not piranhas. They're not going to eat your skin, chew you and spit you out. They're not going to be a chucky team, chucky forever, run you down with knife. Listen, we need to embrace change. We need to know what is available. And it does not cost, information does not cost. You're asking, right? And they want you to comply. Safe food for Jamaicans. Canada says safe food for Canadians. Hey, we are smart people, right? Safe food for Jamaicans. That is why we have our regulations, and that's why we have our regulators. All right? So let's look at two aspects. So we'll have touched on where you can find information, right? To guide your prerequisite programs or your good manufacturing practice. Now, let's look at sanitation. I'm just going to touch on sanitation. For sanitation, you clean at home, yes. But when we're talking about the work environment and manufacturing environment, it's a bit different. We clean and we have to sanitize. Cleaning removes soil or debris. When we apply a sanitizing agent, it reduces the bacterial load. You know, you use Lysol, which is typical, and that's why it says 99.99%, because it's not every single bacteria is going to be removed, but they are in a acceptable level. All right. So when we're talking about sanitation, for the manufacturing environment, we need to know that it is fit for use in a food industry. It's not everything because it can clean and but that soap, no dear. That soap can turn a hazard. There are three types of hazard: physical, chemical, and microbiological. And that particular soap can kill people, right? So it must be fit for use when you're talking about food contact surfaces. So that's why we're asking for things called, and you might hear the concept before, called material safety data sheet. It is now referred to as safety data sheet. We need a technical specification that breaks down the chemical, right? We have information as it relates to the efficacy of the chemical. Does it really work? Does it really work? I'm going to give you an example. I know a particular company that purchased a particular soap, and they couldn't understand why there was a bacterial load, only to find out when we swabbed the person's hand before, And after washing their hand with this particular soap, the load is more. When you check the soap and did a micro on the
How?
soap,
Uh,
yes, Lady Sophia, a
what?
lot of things happening in the industry. Not touching everything, can't, will not. Continent, but I'm giving you example. The micro load is
Oh,
more. And when we did microbiological analysis on the soap, as like the people that rub them on in a dirt, right?
mm, wow.
Not a good scenario, but what I'm trying to say to you is that the soap was not fit for use, right? For that particular environment. So you have to do your due diligence. Yeah. We must assess our suppliers also. I not assess them only on, oh, do they send us on time and as it relates to money. No, the quality of the product, the efficacy of the product. Is it
Exactly.
effective? Does it truly work in the industry? Yes. Also, we have to talk about verification of sanitation. Not because it's clean and you look on it and there is no soil or visible soil, that means that the surface is clean. And this verification, we're talking about food contact surfaces. We're talking about conveyors that we use to run the food on. We're talking about filler heads that are used to do filling, right? We're talking about food contact surfaces. We're talking about that in particular. We have to make sure, and that part of the verification is to ensure not only visual inspection for the removal of debris, but we have to, our soil, but we have to make sure that in the cleaning and the cleaning technique or the cleaning methodology, we were able, which encompass the cleaning and sanitizing, we want to make sure that the surface is fit now to receive that whatever food that we are going to produce and not a source of additional contamination or a source of
Mm,
contamination. Do your work,
okay.
spend the time. All right. So that aspect for sanitation.
And get the
I'm going to touch
professionals too.
get the
Like
professionals, speak
our
to the
dear lady
professionals.
here, TS Quality Consultants.
Talk to
Okay.
us. Yes,
Get
we are on
TS Quality
Facebook.
Consultants.
We are on
Yes,
Facebook. We are on
contact
Instagram.
details are in the description box below this video. Yes, get the professionals.
All
Yeah,
right.
TS Quality
So we all
Consultants.
thank you, Lady Sophia. The other thing that I want to touch on is allergen, and it's different from allergies. First, no, seasonal. That's allergies. We're talking about food allergen. People consuming food, and as a result, there's a reaction in the body, and the reaction in the body is negative, right? So we have persons that, oh, we're lactose intolerant. You
Mhm.
are you have a food allergy, right? And that is
Yes.
associated with milk. So therefore, if you eat cheese, which is a value-added product, it's going to be a problem. If you eat yogurt, right? If it's not milk-based, fine. But once it's milk-based, it's going to be an issue. We have people that
Yes.
are allergic to peanut. Get it, people?
Mhm.
Peanut and will die as a result of peanut. Remember, we talk about
Yes.
labeling, and that is important why you need to ensure that the consumer has the correct information to make informed decision. If you don't declare that the product is produced in a facility or produced on a line that runs peanut, that has a severe peanut allergy, right? And eat it
Mhm.
and die. Are you going to tell them you're sorry? How much money can compensate that family? I'm not even going to your brand. You cannot replace a life. You understand?
Yes.
So we also have persons allergic to tree nut. I said tree nut, yes. That includes for the US coconut. No, sir. I hate the use wash off my heart. What people are eating and people can't eat coconut. No, the
Mhm.
body reacts different. And as a result, there's a negative reaction. It causes the closing of the airway. The person can't breathe. If they're not treated quickly, they may die. Remember,
Exactly.
everybody and immune system is different. Whenever, like, if you have a pair of twins, the the fingerprint will never be the same. Never ever be the
Exactly.
same. We may have common blood type, but the fingerprint will never ever be the same. It's going to be unique. We have people that are allergic to wheat. What? Yes, gluten in the wheat. They're allergic to gluten.
Mhm.
We have people that are allergic to soy. I mean, soy are good for you. It may be good for you, but not for someone
Yes.
else's system, right? For the UK, there are 14 of them, including sesame. They say that sesame seed, that beautiful white thing which drop on the bun and toast it. Not everybody can consume that. They're going to be ill. You have people that can eat fish but cannot eat shellfish. Give them a
Okay.
snapper but cannot eat shrimp. You give them shrimp and they start to swell, can't breathe,
Mm.
right? So we have to be in the know.
Wow.
14 for the UK, there's 8 for the US, but as of January, right? I think it's January, I don't remember if it's 2022 or 2023. What is going to happen? They're adding a ninth, which will be sesame. So
Mm.
that will be the ninth. The other that is sulfite. This is where sulfite comes from. Sugar will have sulfite based on how it is processed. Once it's over
Okay.
10 parts per million, you have to declare it on the label because there are people that are allergic to sulfite. Certain things that naturally have sulfite. We're talking about it also can be something that is added to the product that is being produced. And that is why it is important for us to be in the know. It is important for you to do the research. Just like how you research which movie is coming soon, well, Endgame for Avenger don't know, so we have to figure out what they're going to do with the rest of the people them and what if and stuff. So if you're a Marvel Universe fan, you know what I'm talking about, right? So that is how we have to spend the time to research and make sure that we do our due diligence. It is important for you as a manufacturer. It is even of greater importance because you're offering products to the consumer. And I'm going to say to you that you also knowingly and unknowingly may consume that same food that is not meeting requirements. And then you become ill and you're wondering, you're going to say, but you don't understand why. Now, suppose everybody takes that approach and don't line up, right? Everybody taking the approach and
Exactly.
decide they're not going to line up with compliance, then we are going to have issues. One thing with Jamaican our culture, we self-medicate. Either earth you drink some ginger and go to sleep or take 2 tablets. You have diarrhea, Pepto-Bismol, um, do some bush tea thing and call it a day. We do not report foodborne illnesses. In other countries like the US, it is tracked. So when you go, they can tell you how many persons are ill per year and I'm talking about thousands, and how many people die per year as a result of foodborne illness. Why? You don't do your due diligence. Does it happen sometime where you may have an issue in the facility and it go out? Yes, that's why you have a recall program, which is part of the prerequisite program. So that's why we talk about coding before. It is important that everything that is coming out have the regulatory requirement, right? It must have that information so that you know must put in a system that you can track it so you know who you sold it to so they can alert who they need to alert. It's a requirement. There's a standard in Jamaica, JCP3, right? You have to be in the know. With that said, I'm going to say to you, welcome aboard. And the reason why I'm saying welcome aboard, uh, Lady Sophia has provided a wonderful platform for people to come and give you nuggets. And these nuggets is not to bash you, but to make you aware of your importance. You are important to the industry. You are important to brand Jamaica. You are important to a consumer because listen, there are some things that we just love eating. You know, we just love eat.
Exactly.
And when we don't see it and we can't find it at a particular supermarket, we miserable. I'm like, how come you not have it? You have to go somewhere else, right? So you have persons that love your product. The only way to keep that love affair going is for you to continually do your due diligence. So, Lady Sophia, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Lady Tamieka Sewell-Phang. She has just shared so much information. And if you said that, oh, you want to start a business, I have noticed since the pandemic started a whole lot of persons going into food-related businesses. Please,
Mhm.
please do the thing right, do it formally. And hey, this is just an introductory set of information. Contact TS Quality Consultants, Lady Tamieka Sewell. She's the CEO of that brand, of that company. Make sure that you contact her and get the guidance that you need so that you can start your business right, so that you can take advantage of the opportunities and even go overseas and all of these things. Now I'm just looking in the comment section. I don't see any comments, and that means I'm not seeing any questions. I think that believe that is the case, that they like all of the information because we discussed quite at length. So I'm not seeing
No,
any
that's
comments.
wonderful.
And I'm
That's
not seeing any
wonderful.
questions. So
I
that
just
means that it was very well done. At
thank
any
you.
rate, for those of you watching the replay, just make sure that you contact Lady Tamieka. Her description, not her description, her contact details are in the description box down below. If you have it, if you're watching the replay, you have questions, so make sure that you just contact her. Go ahead, you were saying something, Lady Tamieka.
Yes, I just wanted to plug that if you are small, medium enterprise, micro enterprise, pay attention because there are grants that are being issued, there are loans that are being offered to different size entities just for you to pull through the pandemic. It's also for you to evolve, right? But you need to pay attention. As I said, you need to get when you're following, look to follow things that will aid your brand, help build your brand, and to pivot your brand. Yours actually, as Stephen Covey states, the 7 habits of highly effective people. You have to begin with the end in mind.
Yes.
So don't treat it as a side hustle. I'm just a do a thing. No, that thing can morph into something that can
Could be
sustain
something
and
great.
build generation wealth. Mother to father,
Yes.
father to child, generation to generation, and you're building a legacy. It's not a side hustle. That side hustle mentality is that you just a do it for do it sake. No, but even if you're doing
Yes.
it for do it sake, do it right and do it well. Do it
And do
right
it with that spirit
and do
of
it well.
excellence. A spirit of excellence in everything that you do. Doesn't matter the scale, just have a spirit of excellence
Yeah,
right throughout. All right, thank you so much, Lady Tamieka
my pleasure.
Sewell-Phang. Thank you so much. I know that you are a very busy lady. You have a lot of things happening, a lot of things doing. And of course, I'm very grateful to you for sacrificing the time from your packed schedule to just come and share with us this afternoon. So I just pray that for yourself, your husband, Sir Andre, for your families, for TS Quality Consultants, I pray that God will even grant you all divine elevation, supernatural speed, and just boundless growth, and just all the
Thank
wonderful
you.
things and all the blessings in the name of Jesus. I'm very grateful that you have decided, sacrifice the time to come and share for, yeah, the second time. Yes, so thank you so much for sharing some of your amazing wisdom. And for those of you who are watching the replay, please be sure, and even if you're here still, please be sure to check out the description box. It has all the contact details for Lady Tamieka Sewell-Phang, TS Quality Consultants. Follow them also on Instagram, TS Quality Consultants. Follow them on Facebook, also TS Quality Consultants. And of course, you'll see all the contact details and you see the email. I think it's tsqualityconsultants at gmail.com. Yeah.
Correct.
So you see, well, remember them though. Remember.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Not even a look for the prompts. Things like that. Yeah, so make sure that you go along and follow them. And so this is yet another good, interesting discussion that we've had on the Entrepreneurship and You series. Please stay tuned because we're going to have more persons, experts coming in to share their insights and just to help you gain further appreciation of what it is that you need to do as a business owner or an aspiring business owner. So thank you so much, Lady Tamieka Sewell-Phang. And
My
if it is
pleasure.
the case that you have a business or an initiative that you would like to feature on this show, Conversations with Sophia4Christ, please send me a message, mail at sophiacterrelong.com. That's mail at sophiacterrelong.com. I'll be happy to discuss with you and we'll see what can happen. So please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to this platform, Sophia4Christ. Follow us also on YouTube. That's the YouTube channel, Facebook, and also on Instagram at Sophia4Christ. So I believe that we've come to the end of a very interesting, wonderful show. So until we meet again, May his blessings, peace, and wisdom be upon you all. Bye bye. So we're signing out now.
Thank you.